Hey everyone, it's Bob here from Purpose with Profit. I'm doing a video from my kitchen to make it intimate with you. It's the first recording for the year, and in this auspicious time, Lunar New Year and Ramadan and the solar eclipse, I felt something is stirring. This short video is about the fall and the potential rise of the Western citizen. It's quite heavy, isn't it? It is meant for the Western audience. Let me ask you, go into your gut. Do you feel something stirring? Does everything seem to be fine? Is the world like what you expect it to be? I'm going to share in 3 different parts on why things are not the way it seems and what you, the citizen, can do about it. So let me begin. What are these circles? The white circle here is the individual. So the white circle is the individual, okay? The red circles are challenges. The blue circles here are your options. I'll come back to that. And the yellow circle, or the yellow box, are the governments. And that's plural. Local, state, and federal. One of the things that we know is the challenges that an average Australian is facing, or Western citizens are facing around the world. There are concerns about where to get nutritious food. We've seen this in the US. Water, whether it's the US or even for farmers. Shelter, housing is a necessity. Energy, right? Then there's equality, equity, and job security with the AI and the algorithms, and we can go on. So there are many concerns which are really impacting our communities. Now, I consider it like a rip in an ocean. Just when you're thinking you're getting ahead, it feels like you're getting pulled back into the ocean. And it's quite a number of challenges which are being pulled back. And that's before we even include environmental challenges like floods, storms, cyclones, or the heat, extreme heat. But there are 3 levels of government who are serving us. And now we're seeing even the rise of racism. Now, one of the US politicians has argued for a return to colonialism. That's how crazy things are becoming. So I'll come back to this part. So what can the citizen do? What can the citizen do in regards to this state? Now, this state, when I speak to 20-year-olds or 30-year-olds, early 30-year-olds, they feel that they have to numb themselves, that the system's rigged. And I've heard that before. That's what Trump said pre-2016. Some others call this Technofeudalism. Feudalism is whereby we just served, we just worked, and whereby there were owners, and that's how it was a few hundred years ago. Well, what if the citizen can rise and can come back? Now, of all these threats, there are 2 which are quite timely. Now, housing is not an issue everywhere. It can be fixed. Same with energy. But 2, the planet, the planetary crises, and that's beyond carbon. It's talk about the pollution, the ocean acidification, and the 9 planetary boundaries, as well as AI. Now, for both of those, we need not just local, but we need a global collaboration, because the climate doesn't change at your boundaries. You can't keep the climate change out. Same with AI. We need global collaboration. We'll come back to this. That's the second part. So what can the citizen do? Now, just going back to this for a moment, I'd love to share a story with you where, as a friend of mine who became a friend, 2007 and 8 global financial crisis. She was a gun, high-flying corporate, did the right thing, saved money, bought a house, and then the house or the unit dropped 40%. How would you feel? Can you feel your gut turn? Imagine the house that you own drops 40%. All of your life savings in that. So what can the individual do? Well, the individual, from the time you're born, you are shaped by these little yellow squares. Let's make it red as well, but you're shaped by your family, your parents. They shape who you are. Your family, religion, your school, uni, your friends. But then there's also external, right? There's music, movies, media, and nowadays social media. But then there are things that you don't see, like, for example, think tanks, and it could be not-for-profits and other global organizations. So all of those shape what the culture becomes. And that feeds into this yellow square here, what is governance? And this becomes our culture. So as an individual citizen, you are doing two primary things. One, this is how the media portrays you as a consumer. So you're consuming on your plate, you're consuming on your well-being, or what you think will help you be well, and you're consuming in your lifestyle, how you spend your time and money. So there's the consumer side of you. But there's another aspect. There's your contribution. Contribution. Now, what do I mean by contribution? Well, what business or work you set up, or where you choose to work, how you contribute to society, your investments. And there are many in the impact space who feel that they don't have investments. Look at your super. Look at who you bank with. We all have investments. And then finally, broadly, I call this civics. How are you contributing back to society? Now, there are hundreds of thousands of volunteers, whether it's your local school, whether it's your local nature, whether it's a not-for-profit, whether it's your climate organizations, and the thousands of organizations, when it's your ethnic community, multicultural community, religious community, there are thousands of ways people are contributing back to make society better. So that's your contribution. So there's the consumer, and then there's the contribution. Now, with those three levels though, we have three levels of government and a fourth, if you include the global governance. How many people feel that you are a consumer, that you're passive, as opposed to being a citizen where you're contributing? So each one of us has a choice on being a citizen, on what we put on our plate. That has one of the biggest significant improvements for humanity and our public well-being, how we treat well-being, preventative, our lifestyle, as well as how we contribute, how we invest, and how we do business. Now, where our work comes in, and my work specifically, for the last 18 years has been touching almost all of these, but specifically purpose with profit, the greedy for good state. There's keynotes on how to build brands authentically and how to differentiate. Because now, after the global financial crisis, and especially now with what's going on, a person who is a citizen needs to differentiate what is a purpose-led business and that's doing better for the world, as well as, or contrasting that with a normal business, so-called normal business. Investments, I would argue that the current investment landscape, even impact landscape, is no longer fit for purpose. So we have keynotes on how to catalyze tribes in the age of misinformation that we're seeing now with algorithms. So we have keynotes on each of these topics for different audiences, but we see a link between these three. And this is where we choose to spend our attention. I have raised a planned forward community, and part of the global I've just presented as well in China. And one of my startups was Mind Body Move, but this is what the consumer or the citizen chooses. So in conclusion, I say it's the fall and the rise, the fall meaning that we were citizens living in harmony with the earth from the sacred time for the First Nations to where we are today, where it's been taken away almost from us, but it's with a question mark that we can actually go back and rise again. There's one final thing. So this may appear, there's a thought process of, this is of course just a glimpse, right? Of the left or the right groups. I love Upton Sinclair's quote, whereby he said, to paraphrase, you cannot change a person's mind when their income depends on it, right? And so this work is beyond left and right that I'm sharing with you, because what we're seeing is a certain pathway that we're headed, but as there's a clock you can see on the side there, we don't have that much time, right? And so between the left and the right, this is how do we make society better from a government perspective, from a citizen perspective, but specifically from an investment, business, and civic institutions, so that the governments can have better choice. To give you hope, Scotland has just announced that they are putting localized businesses, they're going to prioritize localized businesses. So governments, plural, impact close to a third, 25% to a third of our GDP. So we can actually be empowered to make the change. Thank you for listening to this intimate presentation, intimate share. So I am your genie guide. So there are superheroes in all of these spaces. I've had the incredible opportunity to work with them in the capital space, in the civic space, as well as the purpose with profit space. And we do have a humanitarian crisis and a planetary crisis, but together, when the citizens rise, with government support, as well as all of the things mobilized, anything is possible. Let's make a better world probable. Thank you.